Hey guys, hi everyone. Good morning. Walaikum salam Taha. Good morning Pradnia. Good morning Nandi. Good morning Adil. Good morning everyone. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? Hello guys. Hi everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Guys, am I audible? Am I visible? Please give me the confirmation. Good morning Ankit. Good morning Manash. Good morning everyone. Perfect. I guess I am. Good morning Rajiv. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So without wasting any time today, let's quickly try to start the session. Even if there are only 10 students here, it's completely okay since this is our last session and probably these 10 students are what I need here in today's session, not any other than that. Good morning, S25. Good morning, Santan. And we are probably discussing right now one of the very important projects in our backend called is role-based access control system. Today's session is going to be a very important session, not just about we are going to build a design, not about that only, but we are going to implement some queries which you might have not seen until now inside your backend. Okay, and that what makes this session a little bit good session. Good morning, Nadeem. So let me start quickly explaining what we have built until now, and then we can move forward and we can see what we are about to do. So we are currently discussing role-based access control systems like this. In this role-based access control system, what we have done is we have actually built already some part of it, right? We have already built a proper folder structure this time. We have helpers, we have controllers, we have middlewares, we have modelers, we have routes, and then we have our main server file. In this entire project, if you remember, all we did was we are trying to build that Spotify related feature. Although not the Spotify clone, it's not a Spotify clone, it's simply that we should be able to access a resource based on whatever the role of a user is. That's what we are trying to do. That's what we are trying to build in today's session. And for this, whenever we talk about role of a user, if role of a user is standard, do this. If role of a user is premium, do that. So based on a role, give me this permission. It automatically means, first of all, user should be authenticated, user should be authorized. And for that, you might have seen we have already done the /register part. So whenever you will make a request on /register on this router, which itself is listening actually on API. So what you will be able to do, you will be actually able to do a register. But also one very important thing, if you remember guys, we are registering a user, we are hashing the password, everything is fine. But also we know that whenever we talk about role-based access control design, it's very obvious for us to understand that whenever a new user will be registered, a default role should be associated with it. And in order to associate a default role which is standard, we found that role standard from the role model, and then we simply associated a new role with that user inside the user roles. And then we simply gave a message, user registered successfully, otherwise this. After that, at the end, we actually try to simply implement the login part. Now, when we say /login, what does it mean? It means we are trying to authenticate and generate a token, right? So we are not trying to authorize. No. We are trying to generate the token and authenticate in this particular case. Now, over here, what we are doing is we are simply reading two things, finding the user, simply seeing, comparing the password, and then simply, if this is good, generate token and return token in the response. That's what we are doing. And also, we also created a middleware as well. If you guys remember, the previous project which we created, that internship portal project, something like that, over there, the token which we generated, we stored it in cookies, right? A response.cookies is equal to this. And then we use cookie parser to actually parse it from the front end, right? But in this particular case, whenever a token is generated, we are not actually trying to store it anywhere. We are simply making sure the token that will be generated, it will be sent as a response to the front end. So whenever anyone makes a request on /API/login from the front end, of course, using a button, so as soon as I click on login, a token will be sent back. And maybe I might store it in a local storage, maybe. Or maybe I might store it in somewhere else, but I will store it in front end. Then I have to figure out, whenever we talk about authorization, in every single case, with every single request, /dashboard, /profile, /adfer, /anything, wherever I want this user to be remembered, I have to pass this token. But how will I pass? I have already done the authentication for that as well. We said that similar to how we can, whenever we are going to send a request to anyone, we will simply make a request and we can send a header. Similarly, we can set one header called as authorization, around which we will simply wrap this token. And if we are able to wrap this token, in the authorization from front end to back end, we will be able to extract it from the request header. And once we extract it, we'll be able to verify it. And once verified, we'll be able to make sure request.user is equals to decoded.user ID. So we have got our user. So this will behave like a middleware. So wherever in my application, wherever I want my user to be remembered, at that point of time, what's going to happen? I will simply call my middleware. That's what we have been doing until now. Right? I hope that makes sense. Am I clear? Give me a quick yes or no before I move forward. Also, if you guys remember, we already set up some manual data. If you guys remember, I told you that whenever we deal with role-based access control designs, we in the most of time set a manual set a manual data by default, predefined data. And let's try to connect to that. What was the database name? So let me go to .env file. The database name was YouTube. So if I try to open my YouTube over here, you can clearly see that I had already some permissions predefined, which is like song, download song. I had some role permissions mapping. I had some roles, standard premium. Role permission is the permission mapped with the role. And then I have user roles, which will be created as soon as the user is registered. And then there are some users which I'm trying to register. It's simple as that. In today's session, we will simply start with one of the very important exercises of backend. But before that, there's one small thing that we need to take care of. Let me try to, sorry, my mistake. I have not shared my screen. If I have not shared my screen, I was speaking from continuously last 10 minutes. Why were you not saying that? Okay, it's okay. But still, I think, whoever joined the last class, they might have still understood all the things, right? Because you might have seen the recording as well. Everything is properly understood, right? I hope this makes sense. Am I clear, guys? If you want me to repeat again, I can. There's no rush. Done? So we have predefined our permissions, we have predefined our roles, and we have simply mapped roles with the permissions, and then we have simply defined our user roles as well, users as well, right? And if you guys remember, this is how we implemented authentication. We read our authorization from the request.header, and then we simply implemented rest of the things. This is already discussed in the previous class. You can watch the recording. Now, moving a little bit forward in today's class. See, if you guys pay attention over here to the permissions, we all agree with one thing. What is that? We all agree with one of the very simple things over here, which is that, Sarji, you have said subject is equals to song, but there's no song registered. Where are the songs on which we will implement our functionality? There must be a song. Na? For example, I want to see if the role is standard, implement like. If the role is premium, implement download. But on what? We need subject now. We need a subject on which we will be able to perform such operations. And if you can see right now, until now, code, we don't have any model that stores our songs. So the first thing that I will do is I will simply go here and create a model with the name of songs, in which I will simply go and I will simply define a schema. So let me simply go define an index.html, JavaScript, in which I will simply define a schema where I will simply have some key value pairs for the song. Let's suppose the first one is going to be title. Title is equals to string like this. Second thing is going to be artist. So let me simply have artist over there, again string, and you can keep rest of the key value pairs like duration, what are the other artists, so on and so forth. Whatever you want to add, you can add it. But as of now, we are simply understanding the basic RBAC systems. So in that case, I will keep only title and string. After that, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to go inside the index.html, and over here, I'm going to import it, right? So import my song schema from where? From my dot slash, and then it is in the song slash, it's in the index.js. Then over here, I will simply go say constant my song over here is equals. I will also export it on the same time as well. So let me do that. So let me simply go and export constant song is equals, and create a model out of it. And what is the name of the model? Let's say the name of the model is song. And what is it going to have? It's simply going to have a song schema as it is schema. Song schema as it is schema. Done? Perfectly fine. So we have a song right now as well. And what I will do is, hey Abdul Malik, good morning. I will simply try to trigger my server right now. npm run dev. Please pay close attention now because things are going to get very serious now. You need to make sure that you understand things. If you don't, ask me to repeat. Even if I have to take another class, I will do that. So do not worry that this is the last class. We have to rush things. No. Okay, it's about you, not about me. So make sure you ask things continuously. So let's wait few seconds so that it will be connected to the database here. Perfect. It's connected. Now, if I go here, let me try to refresh my entire database model. And in the database model, we can clearly see there's now a song model as well. I mean, in the YouTube database. If I go to song, let's add some song. So I will simply go add and insert a document. And over here, I will simply add the first key. And what was the first key? The first key was title. Give me any song. Let's say the song is anything, whatever. Give me a song. Anyone? Give me a song. Let's say Chuck the India. And then I have simply the artist for the same over here is equals to. So artist over here is, if I remember correctly, it is Sukhwinder Singh. Or whatever song you want to add, it's completely up to you. Like this. And let me simply go and insert it. So there's a song right now in my database as well, on which we should be able to perform operations. And what are the operations, by the way? What are the actions that we can perform on the subject song? There are two operations according to which we have defined here. Permissions, two permissions. Number one is like, number two is download. Subject is song, and there is song right now. I hope this makes sense. This is what now I want to do. Okay. Let me try to open my whiteboard and please pay close attention. And you are going to give me some guesses because we have discussed backend on a good detail. So if you have any suggestions how we can achieve it, please give me a simple answer over here. As of now, whenever anyone goes onto the system, onto this web application, we will try to log in, right? Whenever we will log in, I simply want it to return a response. Unfortunately, my whiteboard is not working, but doesn't matter. Let's try to do this. As soon as anyone tries to log in, what I want is I simply want a response that should somehow look like this. Let me ignore this. This is what I want. As soon as anyone tries to log in, it should return me an object. We should simply contain. Let me try to zoom it in a little bit. So this is what I want. Please pay close attention. That I want simply it to return roles for the user. So if the roles over here is, let's suppose, general, in that case, make the general over there true. For the same user, if the role is also premium, because let's suppose I have upgraded the role. So for the same user who is trying to log in, later on its role can be premium as well. So it should simply return a response for that. If premium is there, then make premium is equals to true. Done. And over here, my roles should be completed. After that, there should be another key called as permissions. In this permissions, I should be simply able to see what is the like for the same user. Is it true? What is the subject? Is it true? And what is the download? Is it true? Now you tell me, guys, for all the new users who are going to log in into this web page, will there be premium true? Will there be premium true? No. Will there be download true? No. But I want it. Like if it is there, give me a response so that I can understand that as a response, the user that is trying to log in, does it have premium true? Does it have standard true? Does it have like true? Does it have download true? So this is the response that we want to receive whenever any user tries to log in. As of now, according to what we have built right now, you guys can clearly see that anyone tries to log in, what is the response we are getting? Simply user logged in. I want this response. There's no rush in it. I want this response, but I also want to get an object that looks like that. We can use Redux for what? Redux is a state management library, right? So why do we use default? By default, false. Okay. That's a good approach. Standard by default. Okay. Now see, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I am going to do. I will go there and I will define a helper. I will define a function which will be able to return me a response like this. But how do we get a response? That's completely your task. I will go here and I will simply give it a name. Hey, please create a file, new file with the name of fetch user roles and permissions like this .js. This is the file name. So please pay attention. Okay, we can use Redux. Please, Adil, please tell me how are you thinking about using Redux in this particular case, because that's a state library. So I will simply go say export default, and let's give it a name, whatever name we want. We of course know it's going to be an async function because we are trying to perform operations on database. I will simply go say fetch roles and permissions. Let me name this permissions like this. A function that looks like this, looks like this, looks like this. Tell me now, how do we do it? How do we do it? I will give you a hint. Okay, I will give you a hint. You are going to enjoy this. Okay, this is what we want to achieve. Okay, a response that somehow looks like this. Maybe it will be better than this, but this is what the agenda is. This is what the crux is. This is what I want to receive in the response. Roles and permissions. This is what we want to achieve. And why do we want to achieve it? We simply want to do something like this, like whatever it returns. Let's suppose it simply returns XYZ things. It returns those things. Of course, in my auth over here, I will simply go and try to call it. So let me simply go here. In this case, I will simply say where my data over here is equals to aviate fetch roles and permissions like this, like this, like this. And then apart from token, I will simply go ask it to transfer my data as a response. So it means that whatever this function returns, that automatically will be called over here inside this particular thing, right? Based on logarithms for decrypted token into the helper. Okay, very good, very good. That can be one of the approaches. Perfect. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. First of all, I am sending token. Understand one thing, Nadeem, what is the issue with your answer here? Where do I want to call this function fetch roles and permissions? I want to call it inside my login route. Do we agree with that? Of course. And don't you think I am fetching the roles and response first, then sending token? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I won't be able to extract a user out of it. That's not possible. If it is possible, but in that particular case, I have to call this function somewhere else. I'm calling it first, then sending token. So it's not like I can send token first and then call it. No. Both of these are happening in the same function. That's one thing. Second thing is, instead of, since I know I am calling it in function, why don't I do one thing? Before I generate token, I will simply tell it, hey, do one thing. Request.user is equals to, for this particular login only, for this particular request only, make its ID is equals to user.id. So can we say one thing? If I pass request object to this function, which request object am I talking about? I am talking about request object of login. And when login is happening, the email that I will pass, the password that I will pass, if everything is fine, credentials are correct, authenticated user. So can we say at that point of time, the request which is being transferred to this fetch roles and permissions. So let me receive request over here as well. So can we say this request object's user property knows who the user.id is? Yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirm in the chat. Since I'm transferring the same request object of login there as an argument with a function. So if I'm transferring the same object as an argument over here, what do we need to do? We need to simply understand that the user which is trying to log in is being sent to fetch user roles and permissions. That's one thing. Everyone agrees with it? So can I say one thing over here? At least when this function is called over here inside login, it knows who the user is that's trying to log in. So this function over here knows who the user is, at least not user, but its ID, because that's what I have done. I have deliberately, manually, hard-codedly set it. Of course, yes. Now, only one thing we have. This is the response that we are looking at. And the one conclusion is there that I know user's ID. Do I know anything else? This is what I know. If you can pay attention here, whosoever user is, let's suppose adfar@adfar.com is a user, I know its ID. I don't know anything else. And what is it that we want? We simply want a response that looks like this. Okay. Now, if this is what we are looking at, how can we find roles and how can we find permissions based on its ID? Is there a way that we can actually find ID and permissions and roles based on ID? What do you think? If you think we can, tell me how. Tell me how. What do you think? Do we have a way? Because in this particular function that I only have the user's ID. I don't have anything else. Because I know whenever this fetch user will be called, it receives a request dot ID over the user dot ID. And within this key, I know who the user's ID is. So I know user's ID. With that ID, how can I find roles? How can I find permissions? Come on, tell me that. Tell me that. How can we do that? Do you have any idea? If not, let me give you, because we cannot waste time. Let me give you. Do we all agree that there's a key? There's a key. Let me remove. Allow me a second, guys. Let me remove entirely myself. Perfect. I hope I'm audible now. Am I audible, guys? Please give me a confirmation. Perfect. So if you guys remember that in this particular function which I'm calling, I only have user's ID. And with that ID, I have to find roles and permissions. Now, do you think that in the permissions, this is what I want to find? Is there a like? Make it true. If there's a download, make it true. Do you see any user's ID? No. Do you see any user's ID over here? No. But from here, what do you see? Role ID. Inside this role permissions, you can see role ID. And if you go to user roles, do you see the user that we have? Whoever user is logged in, with that particular user, we have a role ID associated? Yes or no? We have a role ID associated, right? So if user ID and I make a request to user roles, on the user roles, with respect to that user, I will be able to find all of its role IDs. Right now, tell me who this user is. It is CC5. The ID of user is CC5. Tell me who the user is, CC5. Tell me who the user is, CC5. It is the roshan@gmail.com. So let me remove these two. So let me remove this one. Let me remove this one. Okay. So there's only one user. It's Roshan, CC5. And according to the role over there, it's 8A2. What is the role? 8A2. 8A2 is standard. So by default, it is standard. What if I will do something like this? I will go here and I will clone it. Okay. And I have cloned the same user, same ID, same role ID. But what I will do is I will simply go and role ID of premium is 8A3. I will simply go here and edit it. So in this particular case, I will simply write 8A3. With this, can I conclude, guys, that I have upgraded the role of my user Roshan as standard as well as premium? Do we all agree with that? Give me a quick confirmation, yes or no? That with this, I have actually upgraded my role of the Roshan over here. It contains right now standard as well as premium. Give me a yes or no. Yes or no? Perfect, right? So in this particular case, can I say this is what the response I'm looking at in the output? That give me all the roles. So for Roshan, general should also be true, premium should also be true. For Roshan, like should be true, download should be true. Because that's what we want to receive. Perfectly fine. Now look at this. I know that in this fetch roles and permissions function, I have only, what is this called? I have only user's ID. I don't have anything else. But if using that user ID, I will make a search query over there to user roles. Don't you think with respect to that user's ID, I will be able to find all of the role IDs for that specific user? Yes or no? And do you think there's a possibility that same user's ID can have multiple role IDs? Do you think that? Yes or no? Right? Perfect. 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 So let's do this first. Let us do this first. And please pay close attention. This is what I'm going to. I'm going to simply say constant. Define a variable called as user roles is equals await over there on my user roles. On my user roles from here. And it is in index.js like this. On this user roles, do I need to implement find or find one method? Come on, tell me that. Do I need to implement find or find one method? Because I want to find all of its role IDs. Quickly, what is the method that I'm going to use? Find or find one? Find method, where the user ID is equals to request.user._ID. So can we say over here, guys, whosoever user is logged in, and do we have, when this function is called over here inside auth, do you think inside request.user._ID we have user's ID? Of course, yes. So I know who the user is logged in. So user logged in, simply take that ID inside my user roles, find all the documents. Now, when we say find method, always remember it returns array of objects, array of documents. So what's it going to do? It's going to return array of objects. And I know right now, since we are using Roshan's example, so we know it is going to return me Roshan's all role IDs, not all role, but all documents. Allow me a second only, and before I move forward, I'm not able to open my open board, not sure why. Either I have to update this or whatsoever the issue is. Perfect, it is opening. Great. Pay attention. So according to this, right now, according to this particular code, okay, can I say this user roles that I have, this user roles variable, it contains an array that looks like this array. The first object is this, comma, the second object is this. Can I say that? That is, for user roles is this particular array, which the first object is this, second object is this. Yes or no? Yes or no? Quickly tell me. Right? It's an array of object. Perfectly fine. Very good. I hope this makes sense. Since it's an array, now how do we find its roles? Because see, all I got is I got role ID this one, I got role ID this one. Do you think based on role ID right now at this point of time you can simply tell it, okay, this is the role ID, make standard true, premium true? No. But what you will do is you will take this array, take its role IDs one by one. Simply take this ID first out of it, take this ID out of it. Once you take both these IDs one by one, make a search on roles model. And if there is any ID matching with anyone, make that particular part standard true. Make that particular part premium true. Is that the logic? Give me a yes or no. So eventually it means that whatever we found over here inside user roles, on that implement a loop. And once you implement a loop over there, simply take only role IDs, extract role IDs out of it. And how do we extract role ID? This is what I'm going to do. This is something like this. I will simply say user roles dot map. User roles dot map. Because I know I need an array over there. That's why map. From here, I will simply tell it extract role IDs only. Role IDs only. And over here, from this entire operation, only please return role ID. That's it. So can we say, guys, this particular operation that I am doing over here, it somehow returns me this. Okay. It somehow returns me this. An array. If I put it in a variable, it will return me an array, which will simply contain ID, whatever the role ID is 8A2, comma, whatever the ID is 8A3. This is what it's going to have. This array of role IDs only. Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation. It contains only this thing. Perfectly fine. Now I know I have an array of role IDs. What if, guys? Hey, Irshad, hi. What if, simple question, what if there is no role ID of premium here for the user? In that case, again, I will have array, but there will be only one item. I won't have two, I will have one. Right? So it depends on whatever the user roles that particular user contains at that point of time. Okay, please make sure that you remember it. Now, since I have this array, I will simply go to my roles. From this roles database, I will simply make a search on this role database and see whether there is standard in this particular area or not, this premium in this particular area or not. And if it is, make it true, otherwise make it false. So this is the whole logic. Simple logic. But how do we do this? This is how we will do it. I will simply go and I will simply go to my code, and this is what I'm going to do. I am going to, for some time, let me keep it there. Let me keep it there because you know what it is going to do. I will simply tell it define an object with the name of roles and let me keep it empty object. Done. After that, simply execute a function or execute this promise. Where on my role model, you will implement a find. Role model implement a find. When we implement a find method, it returns again array of objects because in this case, there are possibility. It might return standard, it might return premium, it might return more than one rule. That's why find, not find one. After that, find with respect to what? How am I going to find, guys? With respect to what parameter? Will I make a search with respect to ID or with respect to role in this role? Because inside that array, there are IDs of roles. So I have to make a search based on the ID only. So that's what I'm going to do. Based on the ID. But which ID am I talking about? Which ID am I talking about? What if I will simply do something like this? Hey, where the ID is, although what is the error? Okay, it's equals to. What if ID is that whatever the ID was 8A2? So do you think it's going to return me, this particular operation is going to return me standards document, role standards document? Of course, yes. And if I simply say 8A3, it's going to return me premiums document. We know that. But are we looking only for standard or are we looking for both? We are looking for both. If there are both, give me both. If not, give me only one. So it means we have to tell it. It must be either this or it must be 8A3, which means or 8A2 or 8A3. Either of them, make them true. Whatever is there, make them true. Is this what the logic is? Not both. This or that. Check any one of them or both, because or gate means either one has to be true to be output to be true, right? If there are two inputs, one has to be true, either one or both has to be true so that output will be true. We know that, or logic. But how do we implement this? Because I know this is not what I'm going to do. I don't have, although I have or operator, but there's a better operator which we use. And that's called a $in operator. We should have taken one class, and it's my mistake. We have not taken one class on operators and aggregators inside MongoDB. Whatever discussion we did on MongoDB, that's a very minute discussion we did. Very minute discussion, guys. There's a huge aspect of MongoDB where we actually implement operators, where we implement aggregators, where we implement lookups. If you remember, guys, if anyone knows over there, SQL. In SQL, there are aggregators, average, sum, count, right? In SQL, there is joins, left join, right join, full join, inner join, something like that, right? Similarly, in MongoDB, since there's a database, there are multiple models, we can implement similar operations here as well. But we have not taken any class. Hopefully, in this Ramzan, I will give you one class on that. Okay? I promise you. I will give you a complete class on all the functions of MongoDB. Not all, but 80% of functions. We'll have a very good class on MongoDB, only MongoDB. But at this point of time, we have to implement an operator. And that operator is called in operator. And whenever you implement operator, it is have to wrap it in curly brace. And then whatever the operator name is, you have to implement $in sign. So $in. Can you guys tell me $in what? What should I write here? Always remember $in works with an array. It has to be an array of those values. So it means if I write something like this, 1, 2, let's suppose I will write this. It means inside my role model, go there, find me those IDs that is either 1 or 2. That is either in 1 or 2. This is what it means. Sure. That's what I'm going to do in Ramzan, okay? $in on 1 or 2. This is what it means. But we are looking at role IDs. Don't you think instead of making an array like this, I will simply tell it console X and simply put it here? Don't you think this particular operation gave me an array of those role IDs? Come on, guys, yes or no? Do you think this is what we need to do? ID $in, use the roles.map, because map returns an array. We know that. So it will return array of those documents whose role ID is there inside user roles. And user roles will have only those role IDs that is currently trying to log in for that user who is trying to log in. Give me yes or no. Give me yes or no. Quickly, everyone. Done. But do you think, although we found at this point of time, whatever implementation we did, can we say and can we conclude one thing here, that based on these operations which you have implemented, whosoever user is, doesn't matter, who the user is, we have find its roles. And although we have not done standard true, premium true, but we have found its roles. We have gotten its array of objects of its roles. So at this point of time, we can conclude one thing. Right now, for Roshan, this is what we got: an array starting from here and an array starting from here. So this is an array containing these two documents. This is what we did. We have found for the user who is trying to log in. And at this point of time, if we take a Roshan's example, we got this document and this document, right? Perfectly fine. After this, let me go here. And now what do we want? We want a response that looks like this. This is what we want to do. This one. And if you guys remember, I have already created a roles object and it is empty object right now. Now all we need to do is we need to simply pass general true, premium true. General true, premium true. And we got an array like this. So I will simply tell it. Now, since you got this array that contains these two documents, these two objects, implement another loop on it and extract only roles out of it. So extract role, take its value, make it true. Extract role, take its value, make it true. Simple as that. If it's not there, don't make it true. So this is what I'm going to do. And how do we implement a loop? Using for each loop. So on each item, I would simply want you to extract a role of it. A role of it. Now, once you extract role of it, I simply want you to return. What do you want to return? Inside the roles object, inside this object, add a particular key of that role and make it true like this. Make it true. I think role is not imported, so let me import my role model as well, like this. Give me a minute, guys. Give me a minute. So, guys, I hope now I am on. Give me a quick confirmation now. Am I visible now as well? And it makes sense, right? So we have gotten our roles. Now, similarly, we need to find permissions as well. So let me simply say, let me define another variable called as permissions. Permission is equals to like this. Now tell me, how do we find permissions in a similar way? We already have the user roles. See, you need to understand one thing here. You can always find data based on what you have. If you don't have users ID, let's suppose you did not had users ID, will you be able to find user roles? Of course not. So whatever you have, based on that, you can find rest of the things. Always remember that. Now, in a similar way, I have to find permissions over here. So if we find permissions over here, see, this is what we need to do. We will go to user roles. From here, we will simply find role IDs similar to what we did, and we have already gotten that inside the variable user roles. From role IDs, how can we find permissions? How can we find permissions? Do we have direct link of permissions with the role IDs? Do we have direct link of permissions with the role IDs? Come on, guys. Do we have such thing? We don't have. We don't have. That's why things get very interesting here. We don't have direct link of role ID with the permissions. So how can we find it? Tell me, how can we find it? Give me a guess. How can we find it? How can we find it? How can we find it? How can we find permissions based on the role IDs? Is there any connection? Anyone? Anyone? Even though there's no direct connection of role IDs with the permissions, right? You might say, sir, also we have an ID, but it's a permission ID. It's not role ID. And based on the user roles, I've only got this particular thing. But if you see role permissions, don't you think over there, with respect to the role, we have attached a permission ID as well? In the role permissions, if you closely look, with respect to each role ID, we have found permission ID as well. And with respect to these permission IDs, later on, we'll be able to find permissions from here. Yes or no? Simple. There's one extra step here in terms of role ID. See, roles and role IDs are direct connection, but permission and role IDs does not have a correct direct connection, but we have to create a connection. So in that particular case, from user roles, we will get this array of objects in which we will extract only its role IDs. Based on that role ID, we'll simply go to role permissions and find its permission IDs and extract only permission IDs. Based on those permission IDs, we will go to permission and find the permissions. Am I clear? Am I clear? Give me a quick yes or no in the chat. Am I clear? Done? I think this makes sense. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm simply going to go and I will first of all tell it, please implement one thing. Find me role permissions. So constant role permissions. Based on the role ID, what are the permissions it contains? So await on my role permission. So let me simply go on my role permissions. Please implement a find. Find with respect to what? With respect to role ID. Because we only have role IDs. And where will I extract those role IDs from, guys? Don't you think those role IDs have to be extracted from here? Role IDs is equal to like this. Give me a or no before I move forward. $in user roles.map, then role ID, extract role ID only. So it means based on the role IDs, we have found all of the permission IDs. Permissions, I mean. So can we say in this particular case, this variable, according to the Roshan, who is logged in, we have simply got this as our data. So my array starts from here and it ends over here. Where this is my first document from here to here, then comma, this is my second document. Is this what we got? Yes or no? Give me yes or no. Is this what we have inside this variable now? Of course, this is what we have because we have implemented find method, not find one. So find will return array of objects. Even if there's only one object it returns, it will still be an array. And we have discussed that, right? So let me try to clear this particular part. I hope this makes sense. I'm so sorry for asking you to type these many yeses, but it's very important, okay? So we have got all that array of objects from the role permissions. Now I will, in a similar way, tell it to perform an operation on my permission, because now since we got all those on my permission model, please implement a find one similar to what we did at the top. Go there and find the permission with the ID, because now we got permission ID. So since from here I will again implement $in sign, where $in sign will be on my role permissions, and in those role permissions import as well. Let me see. So role permission is imported not from here. It's wrong. It's already imported at the top, so we don't have to import it again. So role permission actually is this variable. So let me implement S, another S. Let me implement another S over here. So role permissions. On this, please implement map and only extract its permission ID. Permission ID. And then please ask it to return only permission ID. Give me a yes or no. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? So can we say with this particular operation, in the permission model, we have found this entire array of this object, because we are doing with the permission ID. So it will simply go, see this is what it's going to do. It will take role IDs 8A2, 8A3. Perform an operation on this. Find 8A2. Okay, take this document. 8A3, take this document. From here, take permission IDs, which is 8A5, 8A6. So with respect to that, 8A5, 8A6, take this document, take this document. So this operation over there is returning that particular array where all the permissions with respect to the role IDs we have. And for each, in a similar way, for each item, not for Raj, but for each item over here, in a similar way what we did earlier, please go. Now I do not want it to only return and whether the like is true, whether the download, so what's this called? Download is true. I want it to return my action as well as subject. So I know this particular thing is this particular array where each object contains action as well as subject. So I will try to extract action as well as subject. So let me simply go here and I will simply tell for each, please extract two things. What are you going to extract? You are going to extract first of all action, comma, another one is going to be subject. So for each item, dollar is a operator symbol here. So it whenever we use operators, whether it is dollar in, whether it is dollar or, dollar and, whether it's dollar set, there are a lot of operators which you might come across later on in MongoDB. And as I said, I will give one class on that. You need to understand that dollar is the prefix of it. So dollar will be used every single time. This tells you that it's an operator, MongoDB operator. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Done. And from here, where you have extracted each action and subject, you will simply return. What are you going to return? First of all, in the permission, this particular object, create a subject. Create a subject. And inside that subject, make it empty. Make it empty. Then inside that permission, inside that subject, which is song, go there and attach a particular action which is going to be like this. So action, whatever the action is, and make it true like this. So whatever the action is, I am making it true. I hope this makes sense. So permission dot subject, make it first of all object and then attach it like this, make it true. I hope, let's see what it does. But I think this should be completely understandable. I have not done anything wonderful. I have explained it wonderfully, I feel, maybe. But if not, then please make sure you understand it properly. So roles, comma, now return this roles, comma, permissions. Done. Roles, comma, permissions. So I am returning those roles, true or false. I am returning those permissions now. So whenever this function is called, it's going to return that. Let me now try to make a request and let's try to log in now. So for that, I will implement Postman. So let me quickly try to open my Postman. So there are too many requests open right now. Let's try to figure out what we have. So we have our server is running on port 8000. Okay. Then our entire router is running on /API. And then we have our user. What is the user that we have? On the /login. Perfect. On the /login. So let me go here and let's try to do that. API /auth, not auth, but /login. And I think we already had done this previously, maybe over here. So I think we should have Roshan's. Perfect. Roshan's data is here. So now let's try to send it and let's try to see what we have. So if I have sent it, it says there's an error. Let's try to figure out what the error is. So if I go and try to extract the error, it says app crashed. Await role.find is not a permission. There's an issue. What is the issue? That curly brace is not a function. What does that mean? So let's try to go to fetch users and permissions. I am closing my await over here. I am closing my await over here. So it's going to return the entire permissions. Am I making everything correct? Please, there's a syntax error, small syntax error somewhere, guys. Please make sure you properly understand it and show me what the error is. So it says there's an issue with this. Role.find, perfectly fine. I implement the ID is equals dollar like this, perfectly fine. Then close which is absolutely correct. And then for each, do this. Absolutely correct as well. Then permissions is equals to this. So although this won't make any difference, but still, constant role permission is equals to await role permission dot find. Curly brace and somewhere, okay, this one. This is somewhere, this is wrong. No, this is correct. This is correct. So basically, role ID over here, if you see, I thought that this is a curly brace, right? Which is absolutely correct. So it is starting over here, and then my map is closing over here, and the entire role ID is closing here, which is absolutely correct. Find method is closing here, role permission is closing here. So everything is fine here. And await permission dot find ID is equals to dollar in role permission dot map permission ID. Then for each subject, okay, there's issue with this. Okay, sorry. So it should be permissions dot subject. Since I added s at the end, it should be permissions dot subject, right? The variable name is permission subject. Maybe this is the error. So let's try to figure out if my MongoDB is connected now. It is. And let's try to send a post request. So if I send a post request, again, there's an error. Let's see what the issue now is. Okay, so it says cannot access role permissions before initialization. It says I cannot access this role permissions before it's initialized, but I have initialized it first and then I have implemented the map on it. So it's initialized first. So what does the error say? Error says role permissions dot map. So what is the error, guys? If you look at it, it says that when you are using role permissions dot map, everything is correct now. We have our syntax issue which we resolved, but it says now you are trying to implement a map on it, which is a function, but it does not exist, or it's not an array right now. What is the probable reason? Okay, so this might be the probable reason over here. Okay, that since role permissions is an await operation, it's an asynchronous operation, right? This might be a reason. I'm not saying this is a reason. Since it's an async operation, it will be executed asynchronously. In the meantime, maybe this is also getting executed, and where this role permission is not an array. So that's what's happening over. It's not able to understand how I will implement map. So what do I need to do is I need to tell it, do not implement this entire logic unless and until my role permissions is there. So this is what I'm going to do. Until my role permission is not there, do not execute this logic. And how do we do this? We'll simply tell it, if my role permission dot length, if this is true. And when we say dot length is equals to, it means it is an array. Do we all agree with that? So if it is true, then only do this. So if my role permissions dot length is true, then only implement map on it, which means that it will implement map only if it's an array. If it's not an array, how can it implement map? Because length will be 0 at that point of time. Yes or no? So I've implemented dot length operator. I hope it should work. If not, we will see what the issue is. Don't worry about it. So let's try to send it. Now it works perfectly. So we can see standard is equals to true. We can see permission song like is equals to true. Although there should have been a premium as well. We got our, at least there's a response. We should have gotten our premium true. We should have gotten our everything true over there, right? Let's try to figure out what the issue is. But I think we got our response to some extent. Am I clear, guys? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Am I clear? Does it make sense what this role permission dot length was? Done. What I will do is I will simply go here and tell it do one thing, console.log request.user.id. Since I am looking for premium as well, and there's a premium, what is this called? Permission for my Roshan, but it did not print that. So that's why I'm consoling it. I want to see what's Roshan's ID. So let me send it. So it says true. It generated a token as well inside my VS Code. Let me try to find out. It's okay. There's still an issue. Why does it say app crashed? Okay, no, it's fine. So object ID CC5. Object ID CC5. So since object ID is CC5, CC5 has 8A2, 8A3, and roles over there is 8A2. So there should be premium as well, right? So 8A2, 8A3. It's part of YouTube Govind. It's not from my side. So it's 8A2, 8A3. So there is premium. But unfortunately, if you look at the response, I'm only able to see roles is equals to 2. I'm not able to see rest of the things. So let's see what the issue is. I'm only able to see standard true, I mean. So let's go for each role over there. For each role, please make sure roles and role is equals to, which is absolutely correct. So what can be the possible error over here? It's only making, it's only returning standard to be true, not the premium wala true. So that's an issue here. What do you think can be an issue properly here? I don't think there's any issue with respect to code because I've stored it, role this is perfect fine. Role ID for each role, perfectly fine. And let me try to do one thing. Let's try to console.log my roles to see what roles I will get here. So done, and I will make a send request. So since I made a send request, let me see what the roles array is. So roles array is only this standard true for this user. Okay, allow me a second, guys. I have a call. I will Hey guys, I'm back. So there's only standard true for this user. So there must be some issue with this user because we are not able to see. Let me do one thing, one other thing, since console is what's going to help us in this. So let me try to see console.log user roles. Okay, like this. Perfectly fine. And I am going to go here. In this case, let's try to make a request now. So let's see user roles as well. Perfectly fine. And user roles, there's only one user role. So we can clearly see there's only one user role, which is 66. No, this ID. Sorry, my mistake. So what are the user roles we have? There are two role IDs. So 8A2 and 8A3, which is absolutely fine. So role IDs are multiple. So in this particular case, user roles dot map role ID, and we should be able to figure out what this is going to return. Why is it returning only one? That is the issue. Okay. So let me try to, for some time, let me try to push it to enter, and let me try to comment this. Okay, since there's an issue, you should know how to console things. Okay, so let me remove this over here, and I will simply say constant my x is equals to this. Okay, and then I will simply say console.log my x. Done. I want to see what is going to be returned from here. How many roles does this particular user role has? So in this case, I will simply go here and let me try to send it. Let's see what the X we have. Roles is empty, which is absolutely fine. And let me try to drag down. So if I drag it up a little bit, what do we have? We have 8A2, 8A3. So no, this one, we have only one role. Perfect, perfect, perfect. It means we are implementing this one, but it's only returning me only one. Why is it returning only one? Array of objects, only one. It's returning only one. This is why the issue is. This map method is returning me only one. Let's try to see why. User roles. Let me do one other thing. You must be very good with consoling to figure out things, okay? But let me keep it like this. Control C. And then I will simply go and let me click enter. And let me simply paste it and let me try to comment this. I want to see how many role IDs do we have based on user roles. Okay, what it's going to return. So let me try to go there in the postman. Let's try to send it. So if I send it, and let me check quickly, drag down, drag down, drag down. So I have two role IDs, absolutely fine. Since I have two role IDs, 8A2, 8A3, so it is an array, right? And then why is this not working? So we have absolutely correct everything almost. So this is what we should have. And it means dollar in. Is there any issue with the dollar in, guys? Because I am able to see dollar in here, which is absolutely correct for each role. Is role imported? It is imported. So this method is properly returning array of two IDs. Then dollar in is an operator which will be taking an array as an argument and returning it absolutely fine. And then we'll simply have underscore ID over there. Find me those, and it's returning only one. So issue is with this find method. Issue is with this find method. But why? Dollar in, dollar in. With the role permission, we are also able to see the same thing. What can be the issue over here? Guys, anyone able to figure out what can be the issue here? Anyone? Because map is not returning what we want it to return. That's an issue. So this method is returning only one. It should return two because we have two role IDs right now, right? So user roles dot map over there should be two, maybe in operating on first element, but we are using a find. It should return me multiple elements. Since this is an array over there, it's returning array of two objects. Let me try to see that. So it is returning array of two objects. So object ID 8A2, object ID 8A3. So this ID and this ID, which is absolutely correct. And in operator means return two things. I mean, in array or operator like that. It's absolutely fine. So it should be, there should be no error over here with respect to this. And for each, this is an issue. This is an issue. User roles is absolutely correct because we are able to see two user roles. We are able to see two user roles. So user roles is absolutely correct. And also my map is also absolutely correct because we can see two IDs. Absolutely correct as well. Then role dot find. Find method will return array of objects. Why is returning only one? Maybe operating on first element. No, it's dollar in operator. It will return two operators. Mhm. Let me do one other thing now. Since consoling is very important, let me remove this and let me remove this. So where A is equals to this. Done. And let me clear the entire terminal. So let me stop the terminal. Enter. Come on. And then I will simply say clear the terminal. So that we'll see fresh data. And let me say npm run dev. Let's connect to the database again. In the meantime, let me try to uncomment this. I don't want to see user roles. Let me try to uncomment this. I mean, comment this, not uncomment, comment. And let me simply say console.log A. I want to see how many roles we have for the user. And let's try to trigger it out. So I will go here and let me try to send it. So if I send it, it gives me the response, proper response. And we have only one standard rule. This is an issue that it is returning me only one role dot find dollar in sign, and in dollar sign we are using user roles dot map properly. We are using role ID as well, and role ID is the key name. Role ID, of course, it's role ID because it's returning the first one. Why is returning only one? Why is it returning only one? That is the issue. User roles dot role ID and user roles dot map. Since this is an array, and let me do one thing. Maybe there's an issue. Yes, I will tell you what the issue is. Maybe I have done a mistake. Okay, when I stored user roles, I added this user role myself, right? And since I added this user role myself, there might have been some issues with respect to that. Let me do one thing. What we will do is I will, since it's not working like this, let me control Z, control Z. It's giving me only one rule, which is not what we want, right? So let me get the logic back. I have every logic is back, right? So let me remove all these consoles. Let me remove all these consoles. What I will do is I will create the upgrade logic first. So I manually updated the premium feature of the user. Although which is absolutely fine. It should have worked there as well. There's nothing wrong in it. But let me create a route over there with respect to that. We should be able to perform the update of a user. So I'm going to do that. Am I clear? Does it make sense? So let's do upgrade manually. Programmatically instead of manually. So in the user.js, let me simply go and create a route. So on my router, please implement a post method, and that post method is simply upgrade. When we say upgrade, what does it mean, guys? What does upgrade mean? Upgrade simply means for the current user who is logged in. For the current user who is logged in, please go there and make sure you are going to upgrade its role from standard to premium. That's what we are going to do. So request comma response like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. But when we talk about upgrading it to premium, it means always that we must have a user first. We should know who the user is. And I think we already know who the user is. Because if you remember that when these routes were created, all of these routes over here, in between, I put authentication middleware. So this user route and the song route, they both know who the user is if logged in. If token passed, they know who the user is. Yes or no? Hannah? So if you see that I have slash user slash song, so whatever routes I will write on slash user/song, it should properly make sense, right? So let me simply go to the user router, and since there is authentication middleware implemented in between, it means I know user. How do we implement the upgrade? First of all, when we talk about implementing an upgrade, it means adding a document inside user role model. So I need role ID. So I need role ID of premium, add the role ID of premium with the user who is logged in the user role. So that's what I'm going to do. So constant extract the ID and map it with the key called as role ID is equals to await over here on my role model. So on my role model slash index.js, like this index.js, let me simply go implement a find. Find one, because I have to implement find one. Find one with the role over there is equals to premium, like this. Done. So we have found the role and we have mapped the role ID as well. Then after that, constant create a key called as user role is equals to, and simply create a new role. So new user role. On the user role like this. Is it user roles or user role? Not from here. Let me see. Is it user role or user roles? User roles. It's user roles. Sorry. Perfect. On the user role, simply create a new document. And how do we create a new document like this? Where it contains two things: role ID and user ID. So I will simply go say user ID is equals to request dot user dot underscore ID. Then comma over there, I will simply go role ID is equals to, and let me simply put role ID. So can we say, guys, whenever this route will be called, it will simply extract the ID of that particular role, map it with role ID, and create a new role inside the user role for the current user who is logged in? Yes or no? Give me a quick yes or no. And response dot status over there is equals to 100, and then simply send a JSON response where you will simply give a message, and that message over here is equals to role updated, like this. Am I clear? Do you think that with respect to this particular thing, we have upgraded our role from standard to premium? Role upgraded to premium, like this. And in the catch, I will simply go give me control C, let me try to control V. Status is equals to bad, and let me simply say bad request. Bad request. So I hope this makes complete sense. Like whenever we talk about slash upgrade, in this particular case, we'll simply go and tell it one simple thing, and which is that extract the ID of premium, extract the user ID, and simply create a new role inside the user roles. And I have not implemented, by the way, save. So let me simply go say await. Await what? On my user role, please implement a save method like this. I hope this makes sense. Am I clear, guys? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Am I clear? Done. And do we all agree that we have request.user.id in between? We have requested.user.id in between. Do we all agree with that? Of course. So new role will be associated. So let me do one thing. Let me remove the second role over there. For the user, let me remove this. Let me keep only one, which is by default. What I will do is I will simply go here inside my MongoDB, and let me try to log in first of all. So if I log in over there, all I need to do is I need to extract token, because in order to upgrade, I must have token. Then in this application, I will simply go say API/user over here. And then over there, simply upgrade. Done. And in the header, we are supposed to pass a header called as authorization, in which I will pass my token. So authorization header is set with the current token, and I have to make a post request with it. Now, if I try to send it, it should simply upgrade it. Let's see. So it says post API cannot, it means the route is wrong. So it is simply upgrade, post, perfectly fine. I have extracted it. Then it's on /user, not users. So it's user. It is user. So okay, my mistake. It's a spelling error. So upgrade like this. Upgrade this. Perfect. If I send it, once I send it, it says role upgraded premium. Let's try to figure out whether it's upgraded premium or not. So I will open this in a new tab. So if I open it in a new tab, of course, there's another role associated with the same user. So CC5, CC5, 8A2, 8A3, perfectly fine. Now if I go here and if I try to log in now the same user. So if I log in the same user, perfect, there's premium true as well. So do you know what the issue was? The issue was I manually upgraded it to premium. And when I manually upgraded it to premium, there was some mistake that I did somewhere. And it did not create the same exact copy. And now since I upgraded, I automatically understood it that it happened because of my copying. Did I upgrade the premium using proper mechanism? No, I manually upgraded premium. Now, since I manually upgraded premium, there might have been some issues that might have been there. But now, since I upgraded using a proper mechanism, it automatically means, and it automatically makes sense now, there's going to be premium as well. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Quickly. Everyone must reply. Perfect. There's still one issue over here, unfortunately. Okay. Issues. There's like true. I'm not able to see download true. There's only like true. I'm not able to see download true. What is the reason behind that? Premium, we attach it, like we did not. I will tell you what can be the issue over here. Let me try to understand first of all what's happening. So over here, for each item, since I got the role permission ID now, it's absolutely fine. Permission subject. Okay, see, this is what it's going to do. It's every single time whenever it implements a loop, it always starts with an empty. Like let's suppose first loop is done. There's a key value here. Then it again sets it to empty. That's why there's only one key value here. So I'm not going to do it like this. No. I'm going to implement if else. If my not permissions, this permissions add the subject is not true. If this is not true, which means it is there. Sorry, it means it's not. If it is empty, in that case, add it. In that case, create an empty object, make the first one true. But if it is already there, if there's already a key, in that particular case, do something else. So this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to make sure that in this particular case, I will simply tell it in the else part, go to permissions and add that subject. Since it's not empty right now, add that action over here. Please make it true like this. Let's see what happens now. I hope it works. If I send it now, there's still an issue. There's still an issue with the download. Not sure why. If not, permissions at the subject is not true, then make it object and then add true to it. And subject at the actions is equals true. So this should be there, but unfortunately it's not there, which means it's not returning the download part. Why is that? We solved one problem. There's one other problem that we got. What can be the possible issue, guys? What can be the possible issue if I remove this else part? Although I don't think that will make any difference, but let me still try it. No, there's only like. I'm not able to see download. Let's try to understand this logic. So I am receiving for each action and subject. Okay. And let me try to console my action for each. Let me see what actions we have for each. Okay. And let me try to send it. So if I send it, it will give me the response. And we have only like. We are receiving only like subject. There's an issue with this. Role permissions dot map permission ID with respect to permission. So it means there are only two role permissions. So role permissions like this. In this case, I will simply go send a request console.log and let me try to see how many connected to database. And let me try to figure out. So there are two permissions. 8AC permission ID is 8A5, 8A6. Since there are permission IDs, of course, role permissions.map makes absolutely sense. And from there, please extract permission ID. Is this spelling correct? Permission ID. And for each permission ID, I want to extract subject. But why is it only giving me only one? Why is for each not working here? So again, there's an issue. So let me try to comment this part here. And then I will simply go and remove this for a second. So where AA is equals to this. And then let me simply try to say console.log my AA. Console.log my AA. There's a small issue that we have. Not sure why. I might have missed something. There's a bracket issue here. No, bracket issue is not there. What is the issue? So bracket like this. There's a syntax error. Let me do Control Z. Let me get my code back. So I don't have any error now. And let me try to do one thing. Let me try to remove all of this for each from here to where. So let me try to comment this. If I comment it, there comes an syntax error. So let me try to uncomment this. So if I uncomment this, no syntax error now. Let me try to remove this, remove this. So where AA is equals to this. And let me simply go say console.log my A. So let's try to drag a little bit down over here to see what is happening right now. Am I able to see both like and download songs? Send it. So done, true, true. It's an empty array. If I go to my code, so we have only one. Why is it returning only one? Permission ID is new object ID. Permission ID is 8A6, 8A5. Then once I implement find method, permission.find, why is it returning only one? Although the issue is not with $n because it worked over here absolutely correct. Once we upgraded properly through proper channels, it worked for user roles in the role permissions. Why is it returning only one? Permission.map. And if I put in a variable, I'm pretty much sure it will return two object IDs. So what is happening over here? Again, same thing probably, which is our manually data set issue. Let me go to role permissions and cancel. So this is object ID, object ID. What about this? There must be some data mismatch. Okay, object ID, object ID. All of these are object IDs. So after that, take the permission ID from here. 8A5, 8A6, take these and go here. 8A5 object ID, 8A6. Is object ID perfect? It is object ID. So then why am I not able to see it? So since it's object ID, let me do uncomment this and I will simply say AA. Although not, let's not do this. Let me remove this console.log and let me close it like this and let me close it like this. Fine. And there's an issue, small issue. So send it. There's only like song. So guys, please debug it and tell me what can be the issue over here because the issue is not with this for each loop. Absolutely not. The issue is with this particular find method. Why is my find not working? Is permission imported? It is imported absolutely correctly. So there's an issue with this particular thing, and I'm not sure what the issue is. Let's take a break, ठीक है ना? Let's take a break of 10 minutes, and then we will come fresh and we'll try to figure out what the issues can be. ठीक है ना? So I hope that still, even if this does not work, it's completely okay. We will try to figure it out. It's not an issue. But I hope whatever we have discussed, like these operations and everything, it makes completely sense. Am I clear, guys? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me yes or no chat in the guys, please. Perfect. So let's meet after 10 minutes. See you guys. Bye. Take care. Hey guys, hi everyone. Welcome back. Hello guys, hi everyone. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? Hey guys, hi everyone. Welcome back. Perfect. So where were we? We were facing some issues over here, which I am myself trying to understand what the issue is. So basically, there's an issue only with this particular operation. Okay. And I'm pretty much sure it's only because of that mismatch of data that has happened. Let's do one thing to properly understand this, whether this issue lies with every single person only or only with the Roshan, because there was some mismatch of data. I will simply try to register a new user. Okay. And once I try to register a new user, I think it should be properly making sense. So let me simply go here and try to register a new user. So REGISTER, register. And let's try to create a new user. So it's going to be adfar@gmail.com 123456789 password. If I send it, user is created successfully. We have user ID, we have role ID created successfully. And by default, whenever anyone tries to log in, what is the default role that's associated with it? We know it is role standard by default. Now, on the same credentials, I'm simply going to go and perform a login. And if I try to send it, it simply says standard true, like true, which absolutely makes sense because there's only standard true for this new user, there's only like true for this particular user. Also, what I will do is now I will simply go and upgrade the same user. So let me simply get the token of my Adfar. So if I get my token of Adfar and let me simply perform an upgrade like this, like this, like this. And if I send it, it should simply say role updated, which is absolutely correct. But now let's go to login and let's try to sign in. So if I sign in, there's still issue. There's still issue. So it's not just with this one, it's happening with everyone. So with all of the users, there's an issue. Share the project. I will share the entire code of entire MERN. I will create a repository of it later on. But at this point of time, we are only able to see like issue. I mean like action in the backend. We are not able to see. Do you see anywhere any problems? Object ID, this 8 8 A 5. I think there's somewhere some issue. Otherwise, I think our code is absolutely correct. So let's ask, I think, if action is equals download. But that's not the point now, Ankit. Ankit, see what the issue is. There's no issue in this for each. There's no issue in this for each. Issue is my permission dot find is returning me only line like wala document. It's not returning me two documents. That is the issue. If it returns me two documents now, which we want, because there are two documents with this permission ID. There are two documents because I am finding role permissions. On this role permissions, implement a map. Let me do one thing. Control C. Let me implement Control C. There might be some issues. Let me see. So where A is equals to, and let me put it like this. And let's try to console.log my A. And let's try to call this function. So if I call this function, let me see what we get. Let me see what we get. Okay. So we get over the two object IDs. So since there are two object IDs, it absolutely is correct. So there's nothing wrong with our logic. There are two object IDs. This is the same logic which I implemented over here in this user role, which is absolutely working. So we are getting two object IDs. Let me do one other thing if I can. So what if I will simply copy this and let me simply paste it like this. Right? Let me do this because these two objects IDs do exist. So permission dot find. If I make it like this, let's see if there's an issue with $in only. So let me try to send it. So if I send it, it says there's an error now. So app crashed, object ID is not defined. Let me remove this. Let me remove this to figure it out properly. Let me remove this and let me remove this. So now I think since let me pass manually, hard-codedly these two IDs, right? So in that particular case, it should also work. So if I send it, there's only like download, perfectly fine. And there's only like. See, that is the issue. I am passing now manually data as well. I am passing manually my data, and yet it's not properly working. That is the issue. Dollar in this. So let me get my previous code back. Let me paste it. So simply permission is imported as well. Permission.find role permissions.map role permissions.map permission ID extract permission ID is only out of it. Perfectly fine and for each. So this is the logic, and unfortunately it's not working. So that is the point. So we are only receiving our like over here, but our logic is absolutely correct. But of course, there's some mismatch of data, nothing else. Let me do another thing here. Let's do one thing. It means it's a manual data. I might have set my data in a wrong way. So this is permission ID is 8A6. I'm not able to find, right? Let me take this Control A, Control C, and let me simply go here. And on this, since this is showing an issue where A or where R is equals to await, on my permission, please find one. Let's find one. Where my permission, sorry, what is it? What's the key name? It's permission ID. Where my permission ID is this, because I'm all the permission IDs I'm able to extract. No, I want to find permissions. Find permission by ID. This is what I'm going to do. Find permission by ID. So find instead of one, find by ID. So find by ID, and what is the ID? The ID that we have actually is this one, right? So there's the issue. What is the issue now? Okay, where S is equals to this. So where S is equal to find permission by ID over here, and I think it does not need this one. So let's do this. So console.log my hello comma, and it should be my S. So now let's see whether we are able to find the permission with this or not. So permission has already been declared. Why is it permission has already been declared? Let me try to comment all of this code. Let me comment this. It says identify permission has already been declared. And let me try to comment this one. I don't need this as well. Why does it say permission has already been declared? Why does it say permission has already been declared? Permissions. Let me try to comment this as well. Permission is my day. Okay, sorry. It's here. So Control X. Now, if I go to my terminal, is it connected to database? Yes. I want to see what it will return. Send it. So perfectly fine. This is absolutely fine. But I want to see in the null. It returns with that ID, this null item. You can see what the problem is? The problem is with this ID, it says there is no element that exists, which is absolutely wrong. It exists there. So it means there's an issue with this particular thing. I'm not able to find an item with this ID. So let me delete this and let's create a new element. So copy this, and whatever its ID is, action is equals to download. So with that ID, we're not able to find its item. So it is F3. So let me copy this ID, cancel, and let me simply go to role permissions, go here and paste this and update it. Perfectly fine. And now I will simply go to my code as well, and let me simply go and paste it like this. And in this case, if I now go here and send it, if I send it, it works like this. And are we able to see our data? Yes, we can see now our data. So it is download and song. The issue was somehow, I'm not sure why that issue happened, but because of that issue, so how do I hide this? Hide panel. So how do I remove this one? How do I remove this one? Okay, so this is removed and this is also removed. Perfect. Now I have only terminal. So you can see we are able to see our download. The issue somehow was with that particular ID. Unfortunately, that ID did not work. And now if I try to uncomment this, it should properly work. So debugging is something that you should be properly able to figure out, right? So now if I try to send this, there's now an issue. What is the issue? The issue is role permission is not defined. Okay, because I have commented this as well. So let me try to uncomment this now. So if I uncomment this, if I go here with this, perfectly fine. And now if I try to make a send request, we can see download as well. Understood the issue? The issue was with that particular document, it was not able to map it. Maybe while dealing with it, there were some issues. So you have to take a step back. This is called a backtracking. So you have to backtrack, and see where actually the issue is. So the issue was not with our logic. The issue was with the document which was created. With that particular item, we were not able to find the data point, which is absolutely wrong. So that should not have happened. But now, since I have created a new document, create new ID, mapped it properly, the new ID, and now it's working absolutely fine. And I can guarantee you the same issue was in the previous case as well. Even though we set our data manually, it should have still worked. It should have still worked. Because logic is absolutely correct, and manually you can set manually data as well. So you can upgrade manually a role of a user as well. So that should have also worked. But there should have been similar issue like this. But I hope this issue is now resolved. Am I clear, guys? Does it make sense? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Done? See, I will give you a suggestion over there. We will take one another class because we spend our time today a lot in debugging. There are some features which we need to implement on this, some more routes over there, which we will do in tomorrow's class at the same time, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. But you need to understand debugging is very important for all of you. It's not like you will see code somewhere and even though if you copy paste same thing, it's definitely going to work. It does not work like that. It has to depend on a lot of parameters which you are actually dealing with. And whenever I face issues, I always use consoles. There are better debugging tools as well, of course, but I use consoles. And if you use consoles, you'll be automatically able to figure out why is happening, what is happening, what is happening. Okay. So please make sure that debugging is as strong as your coding. So debugging is something that you should know. Now, you guys are asking for what is this called GitHub repo. Let me do one thing. Let me share the entire GitHub repository with you. So allow me a second and let's create a new GitHub repository on which I can simply share all of the backend code. Okay, because this is our today. Tomorrow is our last class. Probably with respect to MERN, I will keep more classes, but after 1 or 2 weeks. With respect to MongoDB, and we will see what other we can do. Generative AI batch, will be there as well. Not a batch, but few classes from other instructor. I have got another instructor who will take 5th class on generative AI. So let's see how it goes. So repository name is YouTube backend MERN. Okay, it's available. Create a repo. I will share the entire repo. Don't worry about it. And let me take this and let's copy this thing. Okay, and MongoDB class as well. Surely. Let me go here. In this particular case, I will simply stop my terminal. And let's try to go backtrack a little bit. cd dot cd dot, and let's create a git repository over here. So backend git in it. Done. Created an empty repository. I hope it's visible, all my commands. Then I will simply create the remote origin with it. Done that as well. So git add dot, add this. So I should have used a git ignore, but it will take some time because there are a lot of node modules in it, which takes eventually time. So let's give it some time. You will receive an internship certificate. Yes, you will also, there will be some mock interviews as well. Don't worry about it. Everything will be delivered. Once you qualify, there's an exam that I'm going to take, okay? Probably next Sunday. Or I'm not sure about the date right now, but there will be an exam. Only to 20 students, and I have list of 20 students. And I'm not sure, Amanjot Singh, you are there because you have not been attending classes. So this is done, and git commit -m, and then today's date, it is 01/03/2025. Done. So it should be commit as well. So Perfect. So I've pushed all the backend code over here to the Git repository, and it should be here. Why is it not here? Okay, is there any issue? So Git status. So on branch master. So can you guys check this particular repo, although I'm not able to see it? In that case, don't worry about it. I will do a final checkup, and although have I not pushed the okay, I have not pushed up. Sorry. Git push origin master. Done. It's empty. It's empty. I have not pushed it. I only committed. Done. And now if I go here and try to refresh the page, all the backend code is there. Okay. So you'll find all the code there, whatever we have discussed in this entire batch. Tomorrow we will have one other class at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. See you in that class. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye, guys. Take care of yourself. Have a great day ahead. Bye. Happy Sunday. Bye.